So good evening officially, and we are very excited to have Christian with us again. All right, he's going to talk to us about how we can gamify our classes using Genially, and I know he has a lot in store, so I'm not going to stay long. So go ahead, Christian, take it away.
Yeah, no, appreciate you having me again, Leanne. Good to see everyone here in the room. Just as quick means of introduction, my name is Christian Klajic, and I am the North America Education Customer Development Manager for Genially. So just to put it into context, we are a Spanish-based company with the headquarters in Cordoba, Spain. So on the North America side, in your time zone, it's myself in Austin, Texas, and then a colleague in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you ever need any support Genially wise, feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat towards the end of the session, because at this point or in time, my colleagues in Spain are probably out at the bars and drinking. So time zone wise, I'll be the person that you all will reach out to. As Leanne mentioned, today we're going to cover how to gamify your classroom using Genially. Now, from what I understand, most of you all at least have a basic understanding of what Genially is, but for those who don't, I'll give my very quick elevator pitch, which is Genially is a online education content creation tool. Here, what I'm showing you is the Genially, and on the left is content that you're probably traditionally used to seeing, you know, in slideshows for the last 10, 20 years, which includes, you know, a lot of condensed text that might be difficult to read, difficult to consume. There might be a link that takes you outside of the creation. But what Genially does is try to enhance the visualization and content retention experience by layering content, right? Giving you the ability to explore the content at your own pace, not overwhelm someone with content, a lot of content at a time, maybe click on something to bring up more information. You might be able to hover over something and bring up more content. And some of these integrations and videos that used to live outside of your creation can live within Genially, right? And I know we have a relatively smaller group, so if at any point you have questions around this presentation, feel free to unmute yourself and speak up. I think Leanne is helping me on the chat, but I also have it open as well. So that being said, today we're going to cover how you can create gamified experiences in Genially. And that might seem overwhelming to you, creating something from scratch, but I'll show you how Genially can help facilitate a lot of that process, especially through templates. So what we're really going to do today is understand the utility of gamification and escape games, which are a specific type of game that we have within the Genially tool. But we also have the ability to create things like quizzes and breakouts, which I'll cover briefly as well. With all of these creations, we want to understand what it takes to prepare to build one of these creations, and then I'll get right into the editor and show you how to actually create one from scratch if that's how you decided to move forward. But I just want to show you some of the functionalities that are available to you. Okay. So what is an escape game? Planning phase, working in the editor, and I do want to leave some time for Q&A, but if any questions pop up while I'm presenting, feel free to ask them. So what is an escape game? An escape game is a game meant to challenge the mind for a user to be able to interact with content in a way that is based in the resolution of some logic or a puzzle or activity, right? So in this template that we have available on Genially, you'll see that there are different steps and puzzles meant to give you a clue or hint that takes you to a final mission of sorts, right? So this, for example, what I'm showing on screen is an example of a template that we have available to you all on Genially that's fully editable, but has this logic component that allows a user to experience, challenge themselves. The logic to where if you answer something correctly, you're taking to one page, and if you answer something incorrectly, you're taking to another, already exists, right? So for example, clicking on some wrong answers. This is a template that's available, an escape room template that's available to you. What this is really great for is to develop skills within the classroom, such as teamwork, research, critical thinking, and self-improvement, because it does add an extra layer, exploratory layer to someone's learnings in the classroom. Any questions to what an escape room is? And I'll just emphasize that an escape room does include components of different kinds of gamification, right? So say a quiz or a search, being able to search for content. But I'll be showing you a better visualization of that once we get into the editor. Something to keep in mind when you're creating a gamification within, I do hear some audio in the background. Leanne, are we able to mute that if possible? Thanks. So whenever we're creating or using gamification with Genially, we do want to have some kind of planning in mind before we do that. Like what is the journey that we want to take a user through whenever they're going through one of these creations. So giving each story some background, establishing some characters, establishing a mission. Mackenzie asked, how do we play this in groups if I'm teaching online? So one great way is everything that's done within Genially and published within Genially is published in the cloud. So it's all link based, as you see up here. So a great way to play escape rooms in groups is to maybe assign 3 or 4 people a different task within the escape room. So someone might be the someone who's taking notes, another one's in charge of I'm blanking, but you give someone different tasks within the escape room so that they're all working on something else and working collaboratively. But just want you all to have in mind the importance of planning. This is less so relevant if you're working with one of our templates, which does make your life a lot easier. And actually what I want to do right now is dive right into it, because we do have limited time. So I'd rather show rather than tell, right? So firstly, what you're seeing here is the Genially panel, right? So as I'm sure you all know, this is where your creations are housed. You'll see the ability to sort creations into folders. I hope you all are more organized than me, because I have most of my creations down here. But if you were looking for pre-created gamification templates, if you go into Create Genially, and then over here, you'll see we've categorized them into 9 different categories, and we have a whole category around gamification, which is subdivided into quizzes, games, and escape games. You'll find over 100, over 200 probably quizzes and escape games that are already created for you. So you don't have to think of that logic ahead of time. You can go in, see a design that appeals to you. And I'm just going to go click on random quiz. If the design is interesting to you, you can go ahead and click on it. View the design. You'll see that there's already beautiful animations popping up with one click, and you can preview the interactivity. See what the logic is, what pages pop up if you get something wrong, if you get something right, and everything within this template is fully customizable. So you don't have to keep the images, the animations, the questions, the responses. This is all fully editable and just meant to be a foundation, right, of a beautiful creation for you. So you don't have to take the time to either program something or hire a designer to create beautiful content. So I'll go ahead and show you another example of, say, an escape game where there's a little more logic to it than just picking the one correct question in a multiple choice. But for example, we'll look at this escape camp. So once this loads, we'll be able to see that this is a mission, right? Where you start, you're given background, there might be audio. I don't know if you all can hear that. That was me going back. Mission is to get all the badges. And this one is a quiz-based one. So let me see if I can show you another one. Breakout Adventure. So this has more of an introduction component to it. Describes the mission, describe the characters, and then whenever you're ready to actually start the mission and go into the different pieces of this escape room, you'll go and look for those clues. And when you're ready to escape the room, there should be a password that the students would have used critical thinking skills to acquire, right? So just to show you a little more about how customizable these are, if I click on use this template and I'm ready to use this, I'll be taken directly into the editor. And you'll see that everything here, if I move and click around, is fully editable. Even this plane in the background, the start buttons, you'll see, and we covered this in our last session, which was interactivity, animation, and integration. But you'll see if I click into this interactivity around the introduction button, you'll see that the interactivity of that button takes me to the introduction page, right? So this logic is already created for you. You would just have to go into each of these pages and replace the content itself. Any questions here? Leanne, anything that you think I should add to this?
So just probably that as a user of it, as a teacher, the students really do enjoy it, and it really does help them to think through the process of their learning, but without the stress.
Yeah, that is a great and very important point, is that this does, enhance retention and participation, because they are meant to be fun activities, whether you're working through one of these together or working through it alone. But what I really want to get across when I go through these templates is just how easy it is to select something beautiful, and how easy it is to import your own content directly within it. And I just went in and scrolled through quizzes, games, and escape games, but you can always search for something. And for instance, I showed you all these escape rooms and quizzes, but there are also some other games that, you know, we can create within Genially that might, you know, are already created for you, such as chess. So, I mean, this is, you can find a way to be creative with this chessboard and add some additional interactivity and challenges to this game. Or let's see, for example, snakes and ladders. Or this board game, where you could layer modules or lessons within some of these spaces, for example. So these elements are chips and draggable, and you can layer items within the windows themselves. We can use integrations and just look some up online to find items like these, like this interactive dice, and embed everything within a Genially. So again, these templates are your best friend and a great place to start. There's so much that you can do with Genially, but the last thing I want you all to feel is intimidated by what's in front of you, because the design is already created for you. Any questions? No, if not, and feel free to plug some things in the chat. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a very simple escape game from scratch. And what I want you all to get from this is just to understand the working logic behind these gamifications, and understand some of the features that are available to you if there's something that you're not seeing in a template, right?
Christian, a question.
Yep, I see it. How do you share your presentation or game with students? So very simple. So with Genially, there's nothing that you have to download. So as you saw from my presentation, my short deck that I had prepared for you all, this is a link. This is a link that I can copy, paste in the chat. Oh, got the wrong thing. And then you or your students have access to it. So if you create a board game, or if you create an escape room, once we publish that, you'll be able to share it with them through a link. You can also embed a creation into your LMS if that's how you want to distribute the content. If I have time, I'll try to go over that again today. I did go over that in my first session, but Leanne and I were speaking before this, and if we need a part two to this training, I'm happy to coordinate one. So what I'm going to do in the next 40 or so minutes is create a game within Genially. So how do we do that? We go to our panel. This time around, I'm not going to use a template. I'm actually going to start from scratch and show you all some more I wouldn't even call them advanced, just because it's so easy to implement, but from our standard of training, a little more advanced functions of Genially. If you are interested in getting just a crash course on some of these basic functionalities that I might have not gone over too quickly, within your panel, if you follow my mouse to the top right, you'll be able to find our academy. This has a lot of great short burst learning modules that you can learn how to interact or create interactivity and animation. There also should be a recording of my first session available to you all in YouTube. But for this gamification, I'm going to select just a normal standard presentation proportions. And I will use this template. And I'm just going to use this first slide that is white. I just want to start with a white canvas. And we are taken into the editor. So if you haven't yet, I encourage you to explore what's available to you in this left panel, what you're able to import. A lot of the content that I'm going to be using today, I mean, most of it is in these interactive elements, creating buttons and such, but I do have images downloaded on my end already, just so you know where they're coming from. But for this presentation, for this game that I'm building, what I want instead of a white background is a black background. So how do I change the background of one of these pages? I go here in the left of my panel to background, and then I'll scroll down here and click on black, because that's the design element that I'd like to have. If you all haven't seen this tab before, let me quickly describe to you the difference between a canvas and a base. Okay, so canvas is what you're seeing here, immediately in front of you. So this black rectangle, right? A base, as you can see here, is what lies behind, and if you'll see here, if I recolor it, say to orange, is what lies behind the base, or behind the canvas. And where this is particularly helpful is if you're building a creation that's meant to be consumed on another device per se, say an iPad or mobile, that base fills in the white space that's behind the presentation. So if you're looking on, say, a cell phone, you don't just have, you know, the background in white space. You can have a fully consistent background. But I'm not going to worry about the base right now. I just wanted to walk you through what that was. And then for the continuation of my presentation, there is an apply to all pages button that I'm going to click on, just to ensure the background is applied to all pages that I create from here on out. Okay. So the next thing that I want to do is add an image to create a title page. So I do have a title page in mind, and I'll walk you through, or I'll describe what this mission is going to be in the next two slides. But as you can see here, I'm importing a matrix looking image from my computer, and you can see that with a drag and one click that is imported. I do want to resize this. So to resize this, all I do is drag on these dots to expand it. And then I want to give this game a title. So I'll go to text, import a title, call it Breakout with Genially. Oh, and we see the text is black, so no worries. We'll just highlight that, and here in the top panel, we'll recolor it. And I spelled Genially wrong. And to fix the sizing, I'll just play around with the dimensions. I'm going to go to the top bar and resize. And then I'm going to add a subtitle that should be in white. I want to resize this. And then what we're going to do, the mission that we're going on, is we're going to solve an enigma and save the cats. Okay. And then to start the game, obviously we're going to have more pages throughout this game. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll just go ahead and duplicate this page, select everything, and delete it. But to get to this next page, what I'm going to do is I'm going to import another image, which is going to be the Genially logo. And you'll see here, very easy, with one click, I'll resize this Genially logo. And I'll give this Genially logo some interactivity. Okay, so this interactivity, you follow that button, the finger looking button on the top, we'll give this a go to page interactivity. And within the go to page interactivity, I can assign the action, whether it be going to the first page, next page, or a specific page. So upon clicking on that Genially logo, I want us to go to this next page that's created for us. Okay. I don't see anyone in the chat letting me know that I'm going too fast, so I'll take that as a good sign, but please don't hesitate to let me know if you have any questions or if you'd like me to slow down. Okay, so if I want to preview the functionality of the go to page, I'll go to this eye looking button in the top right of my creation to preview, and you'll see that there is an interactivity within the creation that allows me to click and go to the next page. Now, you'll see a couple things here. One is that whenever I clicked on that slide, there was a transition. See how that slide came in? So how do I remove that transition? For the sake of the rest of that presentation, I'd like to remove those transitions. I'll go here to pages, right? And then at the very right, you'll see these 3 dots, which opens up this panel, which we can go back and change the transitions. And like I said, for this game, I don't want any transitions. So I'll click none, and I will apply that to all slides moving forward. Okay. So I'm going to create a page describing the mission. Okay, so just to give the user some more content. So here, what I'm going to do is go to resources. No, sorry, images, and I'd like a cutout image. And one that I'm looking for is a laptop. There's one specifically that I'm looking for, but see, we'll have this one laptop pop up with a transparent background. So I'm gonna place that, import it in with one click into my creation and insert it. Now I want to give this laptop a white screen. So what do I do here? So I go to resources. I'll click on shapes. I'm just going to use a square. Drag this in, expand upon it so that it fits, and then change it to white. Now you'll see the dimensions and the angles look somewhat off, right? Because the white box is above the computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this laptop, or sorry, the white rectangle. And here in the top left, I'm going to relayer these 2 objects to where the white box sits behind the laptop. And although it was a small change, this looks a little more organic, right? So now I'm going to do 2 things with the laptop and the screen. I'm going to, let me see, actually just with the laptop, because as I edit and add stuff on top of this laptop, I don't want the laptop to get in the way of some of these other objects that I'm moving around. So I'll click on that object and I'll click on lock, right? So now if I try to edit it, no matter how hard I try, it won't move. And I'll do the same if I can click on this white box. Now here, I'll lock that as well. So there's no more movement. You see here, I'm dragging. That object is locked, so I don't have to worry as I add objects on top about moving those 2 around, okay? So in terms of context, what I'm gonna do is add a title. And I'll add that here, and I have some text pasted or ready to paste, okay? And then paste within my box, no problem. We'll just delete that box and modify the text here. So I'm going to highlight that. Here on the top right, change the color to white. I'll change the font to this default source sans. Bold it. And I will increase the size, right? So you work as a digital security agent within the CIA. This morning, while opening your computer, you find this message, okay? So within resources, I'm going to try to replicate what would be a message bubble. So I think there's a bubble here somewhere, but I'm just going to go ahead and use a rectangle. Resize that. This one's rounded, right? And I will change the color to blue. I like that blue better. Okay. And then this will be our first message. Okay. So we have a hacker on the internet, right? That's implanted a virus. And we'd like you to pay up. Now I'm going to go ahead and bold this and recolor it to white so that it pops a little more. And then what I'll do is with this text and the text box, if I click Command or Control, depending on what device you're on, we'll have them both selected. And we can now group the box with the text. Okay, so now these move and can be animated together. Okay, so now I'll make another text box. So all I could do here is copy and paste the text box. Now easy, just a couple clicks, we have another text box, and I'll replace the text within that. So copy my new text, highlight, Control V. And if it doesn't fit, no worries, we can easily go in and resize. And for the sake of consistency, I will resize this as well. Okay, so we have a hacker on the internet that's telling us if we don't complete this mission, they will delete all the cat GIFs and videos on the internet. So not something that we'd like to see as a CIA agent, right? And then I do want to add some subtext to this. So I'll add another subtitle here. Oops. Sorry about that. And delete the text that I added. And then place it there. So use the hints in the next slides to deactivate the virus before it affects the system forever. I'm going to go ahead and resize this. Okay. 220. Now, if I preview this, you'll see that this all comes in very, or it's all static. There's not much animation to it. So I do want to add some animation to this. So it looks like these text bubbles are popping up. So I'll go to this first text bubble, and as I click on it, we'll see this asteroid looking button, which is animation. And I would like this to fade in from right to left, and I'd want it to fade in 4 seconds later. Okay. Now, same for this next one. I'll add some animation for this next bubble. I want this to slide in from right to left, or sorry, fade in from right to left. And instead of 4 seconds later, 6 seconds later, right? So there's a sequence we're guiding an audience, our user through this experience. And then this next button, or this next text, I'll also give it, I'll have it appear and fade in. We'll say 10 seconds later. Okay, and what's the last thing that we want to add? We want to add one more button within our creation to that tells us to go to the next page, right? So I'll add a start button, and I'll have this here. I'll recolor it because I don't like this gray. Oh, that was the text, sorry. Recolor this to yellow. And we'll add the interactivity to this in a few moments, but I do want to add some animation so that this button pops up and enters, fades in, say 14 seconds later, right? So now as we open this creation again, you'll see that there's a sequence to it, that someone reads the intro, these text bubbles pop up, and in a few seconds you're told what comes next, and then we can start with the actual game. Okay. So what do we do next? I'm going to create another page. I'll just go here to the top right of the page itself and duplicate it. And just like last time, delete everything. You'll see that because the computer was locked, we couldn't delete it. So I'm going to unlock it and delete that content. Okay. Now, actually what I want, I messed up real quick there, but I actually still want that computer. Oops. I'm going to resize it. Let me unlock this. Resize it so that it is on full display. And resize our white box. Select everything. I'm going to lock that all over again. And then here we'll house the missions. Okay, and the way in which I'm going to do that, I'm going to add an image. I have an image of a folder that I'll upload. Just drag and drop into my image uploader. And I will create, or with one click, add a folder, right? So I added 2 folders. And on each folder, because they're different sizes, I'm just going to work on one first. And then on top of the folder, I'll add a number. And I don't like that it's in yellow, so no worries. I'll just highlight that, change it to black. I'm going to resize that one, and then move the one on top. And as I did with the laptop, I'm going to go ahead and group these 2 objects. Okay. Now, if I want to make 3 more, I'll go ahead and copy and then paste that. So that's Control V, Control C, Control V. So I'll just duplicate that a couple times just to speed up the process, so we're not having to add the image and the text over and over, and then renumber these. Okay. And then if I were to drag and select all of these, I'm going to add a quick animation. And that animation will be a hover mouse animation. So if you all have explored this before, there are 4 types of animation: how an object enters the scene, how it exits, its movement throughout the presentation, or movement whenever you hover your mouse over the object. So I'm going to go ahead and give it an expand animation. Okay, so I highlighted all of them, and therefore all of them have that hover mouse animation. Let me center this real quick. So again, I'm going to highlight and just drag these over to the center. And then you'll see if I preview this and I hover, each folder is opened, right? So now what I want to do is create the first mission, right? So the first image that I want to create is one of the forms of gamification that you can achieve within Genially. So to create that page, I'll duplicate this page again because I delete the content of it. I'm going to unlock this. And we have a blank page. And I'm going to use that same matrix looking background that I used before. But in this case, I'm going to expand it to take over the full page. Okay. So what I want the user to achieve is I want them to look and interact with this page in a way that they're searching for a hint that they would have to input in their final challenge, right? So what I'm going to do is go over to resources. And because our hacker is trying to, or is threatening to delete all the cat GIFs and videos from the internet, I'll go to icons and I'll look for a cat icon, see if I can find something. Okay. So I'll click cat. I see here we have a cat icon that with one click is inserted into our presentation. It's come in gray. I'm going to recolor it to black. And what I'm going to do is hide it within this image so that it's difficult to find, right? And within this cat, I'm going to add some interactivity and add a window that tells me the first hint. Okay. So there, I just copied and pasted some script that I had. I'll highlight that. And I'll just remove the formatting so we lose the highlight to it. Do you want interactivity bolded, right? Because this is the first hint that we're giving to a user exploring this genially. I'll actually increase the text size of this. That's not increase text size. So this is the first hint. All right, and then the next thing that I'm going to do is add a image, another cutout. So I'll search for cutouts. And I'm looking for a magnifying glass. And here you'll see we have a magnifying glass here, right? So this is going to help our user look for that hidden cat. And you'll see how in a few moments, right? But the effect that I want to give is that this magnifying glass will be able to locate that cat that we inserted into presentation. And you'll notice that I can't actually find it right now. I know it's somewhere here, right? But if I were to hover over, we can't see it. Does anyone know why that is? Any guesses in the chat to why we can't see it? Nope. So it's actually a layering. It's a layering effect. So what we want to do is bring this cat up above the magnifying glass layer. You see how the magnifying glass is tinted white. We want this cat to appear over the magnifying glasses to appear more clearly. So I'll click on that cat, go over here to my layering option, and then click that once. And you'll see as I drag my magnifying glass, we'll be able to locate that cat. Right. So within the presentation, though, if I preview it, I'm dragging the magnifying glass throughout this presentation. But when I'm actually sharing it with students, how do they, you'll see here, I can't actually drag that magnifying glass. I can move my controller around or my mouse around, but we don't have that same effect unless I find it coincidentally. So what I'll go and do here is click on that magnifying glass, and you'll see next to the animation, next to the interactivity, you'll see this option to turn on dragging in view mode. So if I click on that, and preview, we're able to interact with this creation directly from view mode, look for the cat, do a scavenger hunt of sorts, click on the cat, bring up this window, and find our first hint within the escape room. Everyone know how I did that? Any questions there? Was I going too fast? Doesn't seem like it. So now you'll notice, now you might notice something else, right? So we do have this option to move back and forth as we please. Right now, this isn't necessarily a good idea for games or quizzes like this, because we do want this logic that allows someone to move back and forth or move in the sequence that you dictate, right? So how do we remove these arrows? You might remember back with the transitions, we go to pages here in the bottom left. On the very right of the presentation or of the screen, you'll see these three dots. Next to transitions, you'll see different navigation modes, right? So the navigation mode that we're currently in is standard, which allows you the ability to go forward and backwards in time, which is ideal for standard presentations, maybe infographics, but for gamification, not so much. So we want to change this to is microsite. Okay. So microsite removes the forward and back buttons. So what that means for us here is, as we are creating this page, is we need to give users the ability to go back and search for more hints, right? So what I'm going to do, very simple, go to interactive elements, add a back button. And I'll just drag this. Actually, I don't like this button with text. I'll just have this little circle pop up and assign it some go to page interactivity, which takes me back to my folder page. And I don't believe we did this as well, but for that first challenge, we also need this folder to take us to the first challenge, right? Which would be go to page and take us to that first challenge. Got it? So just to test out that interactivity, I can now click on that, explore, find the cat, and whenever I'm done with that, you can click on the back button. Oh, there we go. You'll see that I positioned it right where the watermark was. So that's why it wasn't clicking. So we'd want to change the position of that. Okay. Now on to the second challenge. I'm going to create a new page. Similar, I'll just go ahead and duplicate this one, delete all the contents of it, and I will add our next challenge, which, let me pull this from my folder. 1 second, apologies. So I have an image of a circuit board, which I'll drag, import. So what I'm going to show you how to do is create a very simple quiz logic. So that would be the next thing that we're creating. Okay. So the question in this case that we're proposing is, and I'll just type it here, what is the most popular animal on the internet? So let me just resize that, center it as we do. I do want to add some contrast. So I'll add some highlight to this text, center it so it looks a little better, and I'm going to resize it. And then I'm going to create a few buttons. So what I'll do is I'll go back to resources. We could pull a button from interactive elements, but I'm just going to create one from scratch because I have my own text. And then we will input the answers, right? So what's the most popular animal on the internet? First response would be dog, which would be my answer. But for the sake of this escape room, it will not be. And I'm also going to recolor these buttons to, let's see, say purple, okay? And then as we did before, I'll group the text and the button by using Control-Click. And I'll group them. And then I'll copy this button that I created and just paste it, create 3 more buttons. So again, as I mentioned, as I continue to do this, this is something that I'm creating from scratch. But as you saw earlier in the presentation, there are already templates created so that you don't have to spend, the 20 or 30 minutes that we're doing so creating this, right? So here are 3 responses: either a dog, a cat, or an alligator. Okay. So for our incorrect responses, we want a interactivity that will notify us that we were wrong. So I'm going to go to dog interactivity, create a window, and then here I'll insert an image. And I do have a GIF that I'm going to drag in here. Within Windows, you can add videos, images, other integrations like Google Forms, for example. Here I'm going to create a small window, okay, just so we don't take up the space. I'll do that for dog, and I'll do it for alligator. Go to page. Oh, sorry. Don't know why I clicked that. Window, small, insert image, create. So now we have our 2 wrong answers. And then for our right answer, we'll do the same for the window. And include the text for that challenge, right? And I will input that text, integration, and I will remove the formatting, increase the text size, bold our hint, right? And similar to before, and what I can actually do is go back to that element that I added interactivity to in the last slide and just copy that and paste it. All right, Control-C, Control-V, paste it onto that slide, and you'll see that it includes that same interactivity where it takes us back to that first page that we created, right? So now, very simply, we've created, as soon as I give this second folder the interactivity to go to this second activity that we created, the sequence of events that allows a user to, explore, look for hints, interact, right? and they're more so the protagonists of this story, so they feel more involved in these lessons that they're learning, right? Now I usually do a third challenge, but for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead a few steps and create the last slide, right? Which is the congratulations slide. You've finished and you've completed the escape room, right? So for this, what I'll do, I do have another image that I'll add, which is server. And then we'll import that. And here we'll say, congratulations. I'll resize that. And then you've deactivated the virus. So how do we get someone to deactivate the virus, right? Well, we've been giving hints throughout the course of this escape room. So what I'm going to do is, with this page that we've created, this isn't very centered, but it's okay. We can always move that around. First of all, I'm going to link this last folder, go to page, to the congratulations page, right? So that it takes us there whenever we try to access the last mission. But to get to this page, we want to, for someone to input a code based off of the clues that we gave, right? So if you remember correctly, the clues that we gave were interactivity, and the last one was integration. There is usually one more that's animation. But what I'm going to do is on this slide, and then add a password for this page. So for this password, we'll just say that the code is IAI, interactivity, animation, integration. These are the hints that I've been giving throughout, right? So whenever I create that, we're able to create some text that says, you know, you might be able to give them a hint. So what were the 3 words? And then an example text or clue could be 3 characters, right? 3 characters. And so we can change the appearance and the base color of that password, but you'll see that whenever I preview this page and I've gone through my escape game, compiling the hints, and I'm ready for the last challenge, we'll see that this password pops up, and when someone inputs the password, which is IAI, they will successfully be taken to the last page and would have deactivated the virus. So that was, I know we're running out of time, but I just wanted to show you some of these additional functionalities that you might have not tried on your own, that could support your gamification, right? So that go to page, interactivity, password protection, the animation that allows you to consume or to allow someone to consume these games at a certain pace. These are all features within Genially that can drastically improve your gamifications. Or if there's something that you'd like to add to an existing template, now you should have a little more context into how that works. So I hope this content was helpful. If there's a need for more, I'm happy to put together another presentation in some time to go over some other lessons regarding gamification. Leanne shared a type form in the chat, which I would really appreciate you fill out, if there's a field there that allows you to say, what else you'd be looking to learn, that would be very valuable to me. But Leanne, I'm happy to stay around for another 5 minutes if anyone has any questions. But if not, it was great speaking to you all, and I hope to be in touch.
So Melissa, well, she sent, yes, there's a question. Melissa sent a message to me, but she was just saying thank you. The session was great.
Awesome.
So I think, the thing is people will have to play around with it, but I do want to endorse that these escape rooms are fantastic. And Christian, you actually had 2 additional people who were viewing, my children, my almost 10-year-old, they were viewing because they want to now go create. Actually, my daughter already creates some of the stuff in Genially. It is very user friendly. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments, but the recording will be shared so that you could then stop and go through and actually try it on your own. And if there's any other session in Genially itself, when I'm sending out this recording, I will also send out the first part for those who may have missed it. So that first part is the introduction to Genially, and this was the gamification part of it. All right, so Helen is saying thank you. I'll be sure to use it. And of course, we want you to share. And Christian, maybe you could actually share your creation with them, show them how to share it so that they can interact with what you just created.
Yep, so I just published it as you've seen, and I'm going to go ahead, as you see here, I can copy that link, and I'll just put that in the chat, so you can see how easy it is to access that creation. You might have also seen that you can insert and embed that iframe. That's great if you want to insert it directly into your LMS, insert it into a landing page. I believe it embeds well into a Twitter feed if you want to share it with your Twitter followers. But these integrations are one of my favorite parts of using Genially.
And it embeds really nicely in Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams as well. So it pops up right in there for the children to see. So they get excited.
Yep. All right, Leanne, anything else? Any other questions in the chat?
No, I think all questions were answered. Anybody has any final questions or comments? And of course, you can feel free to always send us an email, and I will pass it on. And if you have specific things that you would like to see, because Genially, I mean, I don't know if this is correct of me, but I describe it as like PowerPoint on steroids. I mean, it's like fantastic.
That's not how I'll describe it, but I will let you describe it that way. If my boss saw that recording, they would
Right,
not.
so,
But it's not a bad description.
Right, so I will see you all. We have another session next week, Thursday, on financial wellness. So look out for the link, and we will see you then. Thank you very much. All right, bye, everybody.
Thank you all. Bye. Have a good evening.